all, this is our mission. Okay, Hawaii's Campaign Spending Commission. 4 things. We maintain the integrity and transparency of the campaign finance process. We do that 4 ways. We enforce the law. We educate the public. We do that through our website and the tools we have on our website. We administer Hawaii's partial public funding program, and then we train campaign committees to encourage compliance. Okay, you see here, we enforce the law, but we do encourage compliance and prevention before enforcement. Okay, the commission is made up of 5 volunteers appointed by the governor from a list of 10 nominees submitted by the Judicial Council. Okay, commissioners serve a 4-year term. No Senate confirmation is required for our commissioners, and they can be reappointed for an additional 4-year term. Okay, the staff is made up of an executive director. Her name is Kristen Izumi Nitao. I am the associate director. We have a general counsel, an administrative assistant, and then Terrence here is our elections assistant. We are administratively attached to the Department of Accounting and General Services. Okay, so this here is your resources. Okay. First of all is the Hawaii Revised Statutes. Then we have the Hawaii Administrative Rules. Then we provide guidance. If you have a question, we have our advisory opinions on our website. You can refer to that, or you can always just call the commission. But your number 1 resource will be the guidebooks. Okay, why is that? Because the guidebooks summarize Hawaii's campaign spending law, and it's put in a very easy, intuitive, user-friendly way. Okay? We also are working on cyber learning videos, and then we also provide informal guidance, phone calls, as well as CSC e-blasts. Our phone number is 808-586-0285. When you call, you'll hear the pleasant voice of Terrence or Anthony. Okay? Our email blasts, we send these out quite frequently. It'll come from the email donot.reply.csc@hawaii.gov. So just watch out for those emails. Okay. We also have a commission website, and we do have social media sites. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/HICSC, or we have an X page, x.com/HICSC. If anything, follow our X page because we send out a lot of information. He is our X poster right there, Terrence. We post when candidates have fundraisers. We post reminders, so it really helps you kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening here in Hawaii. Okay, we also have a dashboard, and we also have an online searchable database. So all of you here, in addition to establishing your platform based off of your issues, establishing your budget, and then setting up your strategy on how you're going to execute your campaign, it's also important for you to understand the lay of the land, the landscape, including the demographics of your voters, as well as the sentiment. But in addition to that, you want to know about your opponent, so opposition research is important. So we provide a lot of tools to help you with opposition research, okay? It's good to know what your opponent's budget is, how much money you're up against, how they're spending their money, so that when they tick, you can set your strategy and be tactical in that sense. So if you refer to the dashboards and the online searchable database here, you can see where they're getting their money and how they're spending their money. Okay, this is our website here. If you haven't been here, we have a lot of information here. This is our commissioners here. Okay, if you're doing opposition research, you click on election summaries here. Our dashboards and our searchable database. You see these slides here. You click here, you can access the dashboards. You can access the searchable data. as well as the campaign spending reports of yourself as well as your opponents. You guys take a look at the website. Okay, lots of information there. Okay, so what is a candidate committee? Start off with this. A candidate committee is basically your friends of committee. It's made up of the candidate, the chair, the treasurer. You can have a deputy chair. It's basically your strategy group. As far as receiving campaign funds and making expenditures on behalf of the committee, you will appoint a treasurer to do that or a deputy treasurer. This person is very key in your campaign. You want to have somebody that's good, that's trustworthy, because as a candidate, you want to focus on campaigning. Okay? If you're a candidate, you can serve as your treasurer, but I do not recommend that because it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of work. Okay? So that's what your candidate committee is. Okay? A candidate shall only have one candidate committee. Okay, I'm gonna go through registration real quick because all of you here are already registered with the commission, right? Okay, so I'm gonna just highlight. Okay, so first of all, candidates required to register either when they file nomination papers or when they receive or spend more than $100, whichever occurs first. They do that by electronically filing an organizational report within 10 days. As of last week, Friday, only 126 candidates filed nomination papers this year, compared to 368 in 2022. That's really low. So the filing deadline, as you know, is next week Tuesday. I don't know what will happen from now to next week Tuesday, but 126 is really low. Okay, so how does a candidate committee register? Two things. They file what's called an electronic filing form. I'm gonna just pass out a couple of these. Sorry, I caught a cold this weekend, so. Okay, so on this form here, it requires the signature of the candidate, the chair, and the treasurer. This form can be e-signed and sent directly to commission staff. Okay? There's 3 reasons why you file this form. Number 1, it allows you to get a username and password to log into our candidate filing system. This is the form here, and it does 2 other things. It's the written acceptance of appointment for the chair and the treasurer. Okay? And then the 3rd thing is, it's the certification by the candidate and treasurer that all the reports that are filed on our electronic filing system is true, complete, and accurate. So this is where the certification happens on this form right here. Okay? If you're changing your chair and your treasurer, you will use this form here to make the change. The new chair and new treasurer will sign this form. Okay. Once we get the form, we send you a username and password. All of you got your username and password. Okay. You will go to our candidate filing system login page here. Log in, and then you fill out the organization report. File the organization report. I want to mention 3 things regarding our filing system. I'm not going to go too much into it. But in addition to the candidate guidebook, we have a candidate filing system manual that you can use to learn about our filing system. But 3 things. You need to use internet, Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome to use our system, even if you're on a Mac. Number 2 is when you file, it's kind of finicky, our system. You need to make sure you close all your programs and only have this tab up. And you need to turn off all your pop-up blockers. You learned that? Okay. Okay, so just make that note there when using the system here. Okay, when you log in for the first time, This is the organizational report here. They fill it out, ask for the candidate name, all of the information self-explanatory. Make sure the address, phone number, and the email address on record is current, because that email address is what we will use to send out report reminders and a lot of information from our e-blast system. Okay, this is the organizational report here. This is what this is what the public will see. A couple of things here. The account number will be blacked out, resident phone number, and the email address. The public will have no access to that. So if you want to see who your opponent's chair and treasurer is, you can find this online. This is a new law here. In 2022, there was a candidate that ran that used a name that the person wasn't even using the person's legal name. It was just a totally different name on the ballot. Because you guys are allowed to use whatever name you want on the ballot, yeah? So there's a new law that requires the Campaign Spending Commission to post the names, the ballot names, and the legal names. So we do that on our website. Let me show you where. Right here. Okay. Okay, any questions on registering? Okay, all of you are registered, right? Good. Okay, let's go into reporting. So most of your time in our system will be spent filing disclosure reports. The law requires you guys to file a series of disclosure reports on our candidate filing system. When on any given deadline, I give you guys all a reporting schedule there. I'll talk about that. The report is due on the deadline at 11:59 p.m. Okay, keep in mind that our office closes at 4:30 on the deadline, so if you have any questions, make sure you call before that time. Okay, so when I talk about a disclosure report, we talk about 6 schedules that are connected to the disclosure report. Contributions you receive, expenditures you make, other receipts, loans, unpaid expenditures, and durable assets. That's what you are required to report, those 6 items. Okay? I'll go into more detail on that, but just keep that in mind. As far as keeping records, you're required to keep records for a period of 5 years from the date that you file a report. Okay, so this is all the different ways you can kind of keep track of what reports you're required to file. The deadlines come from the Hawaii Revised Statutes. We also have, if you go to our homepage, right up on the top of our homepage, we have a reminder section, and it lists what the next report is due. Okay. We also have reporting schedules for you. We have a downloadable calendar, and we also send e-blasts. So prior to every deadline, we send at least 4 to 5 email reminders to you. Okay? So keep this in mind. I just showed you 6 different ways you can keep track of your reporting deadline. However, the best way is this way. Okay? Log into the candidate filing system. You click on Administration, Reporting Deadlines. We will list the required reports that you have to file.
What's the earliest date we can file a preliminary report? I mean, if the deadline's July 11th and it's effective the day that you file, what's the earliest time I can report?
Okay, good question. Okay, you see the reporting period here? The earliest day that you can file is the next day after the close of the reporting period. Okay, so for the report due on July 11th. The cutoff date is June 30th. The first day that you can file would be July 11th, no later than Earliest you can file is July 1, no later than July 11th. Okay? I'll tell you this, a lot of the incumbents will file on July 11th. So keep that in mind. Why? Because they don't want the public or their opponents seeing their information too early. So strategy-wise, they will file on the deadline. But keep in mind that you guys are on the internet here, okay? There's a lot of reports coming in on the deadline. So just keep that in mind.
So to clarify, for the July 11th deadline, the earliest I can report is July 1st?
That's correct. Okay. Any more questions on that? So this screen here, click on administration, go to reporting deadlines. Will this step for you? Because the reporting schedule can be confusing. There's many different tracks that you can be on. For a candidate that's receiving or spending no more than $1,000, we have a lot of those in Hawaii. They file only one campaign spending report, and that's a report due on December 5th. If you're only on the primary ballot, you only file reports up to the primary election. If you're on the primary and general ballot, you're gonna have to file reports for the primary, you're gonna have to file reports for the general. Okay, let me say something about Maui County Council, because if there's one or two candidates on the ballot, they go straight to the general. Their first report is October 1. So they bypass, these are all primary reports here. Okay, so to make things simple, we track what track you're on and we put the reports there for you. Okay? Okay, so this here, I already talked about the certification. It's worth mentioning again. When the reports are filed electronically, candidate and treasurer certified to the truth. And that we just had a case recently, was in the news. Candidate from Maui certified their reports. Once you file the report and you hit file, it comes to the commission. It's available to the public. So please check the accuracy of your reports before you file. Yeah, we do allow amended reports, but only for small things. If you file an amended report and you add a new contribution, you add a new expenditure, the commission will fight on that. So just be aware of that. Okay. Okay, so once you register and until you terminate, whenever you have to file a campaign spending report, even if you have no activity, you still have to file the report, because you know that you have no activity, but the commission and the public doesn't know that you had no activity. Okay, so you have to continue filing until you terminate your committee with the commission. Okay? Okay, slide 23, just be aware of this. We do have, this will not apply to any of you. This is our formula that we use to calculate fines. You came to my training today, you're aware of the deadlines, file on time. Okay? File on time, because the fines can add up. Okay?
Sorry, if you terminate the committee, does that mean you have to also terminate any bank accounts that are associated with that?
Correct. I'll talk about that when you terminate. You not only have to file a final report, but you also have to file a request to terminate and submit a closing bank statement. Okay? These are fines. Just be aware that this report here, these two reports are due 10 days before the primary and 10 days before the general. If you're late, the very next day, your minimum fine is $300. It's $300 a day. Okay? Nobody's gonna be late, right? Right? Okay, so I talked about two reports so far: the organizational report and the disclosure reports. Okay, this is the third report here. It's called the late contribution report. This report is only required if you receive late contributions. I'm going to talk about what a late contribution report is. Okay, this report is due on either August 7th or November 4th. Okay, so what is a late contribution? It's a contribution received 14 days prior to the primary or 14 days prior to the general, that's more than $500. Okay, if you don't have any, or if you're not on the ballot, you don't have to file this report. This becomes an optional report. Okay? So what is that 14-day period? For the primary, it's July 26th to August 7th. I'm sorry. July 27th to August 6th. The report is due on August 7th. For the general, it's October 22nd to November 1st. The report is due the day before the general. It's on the schedule there, okay? Just be aware of that. Okay, so how do you file this report? Okay, it's a screenshot.
You said $500
More than 500. More than 500. Okay, so the easiest way is just to keep up with your entries in the system. Okay, you run this report here. Click on primary. It's under preview print report. If you have a contribution listed there and you're current on your entries, then file the report. You're required to file the report. Okay? Any questions on the late contribution report? Okay.
So 1B preliminary, primary is already file MPS 4-2524. That's done. That only was for candidates that had filed before the April 25th deadline.
Okay. Okay, the 1A report was for candidates that filed nomination papers up to through April 25th. Okay, we had about 50 candidates that filed that report. If you file nomination papers after April 25th, then your first report is July 11th. That's the 1B report. Okay, so let me go back to that. Okay, everybody take a look at slide 20. I believe I have Ohan, Senate, House candidates here, so everybody's on the primary ballot, right? Yeah? Okay. So what you see here, and on slide 20, this here is a candidate that filed nomination papers on April 25th or prior. Like I said, we had about 50 candidates that fell in that category. And there was a report due on April 30th. And then their next report is due on July 11th. If you did not file nomination papers April 25th or prior, you bypass that. April 30th is already passed. Your first report is a report due on July 11th. Okay? It'll cover the period from January 1 to June 30th. Okay? And then your next report is due on July 31. And then the final primary report is due on August 30th. Okay, keep in mind, the primary election is on August 10th, but ballots will drop here on the island of Maui, I was told, on July 18th. Okay. What you will see published online is that by law, they're required to have ballots out to the voters by July 23rd, but I know they're gonna drop it at the mail house on the 17th. It'll probably get here on the 18th or 19th. So you want to time your strategy on when these ballots drop, okay? It'll drop on Oahu July 19th, which is a Friday, and it'll drop, they're separated by zip codes. 967 zip codes, it'll drop on July 19th. 968 zip codes, it'll drop on July 20th. Okay, so if you look at these deadlines here, when the ballots drop, the public will only have access to one of your reports unless the report due on July 11th. Okay? So we try to change this schedule to make it to align it when ballots drop, because the whole point of campaign spending is getting information to the voters, right? So they can have your information to see if you're the person they want to vote for. No changes. Okay, any more questions on reporting? Okay, if not, I'm gonna get into the meat of the training today, and that's campaign contributions. Okay, so when we talk about campaign contributions, it's also referred to as donations. There's two types of campaign contributions. There's monetary contributions, and there's non-monetary or in-kind contributions. There's a couple ways that contributions will tie to your campaign. It can come in by check. Most of the contributions will come in by check. You will also have contributions that come in via money order, cashier's checks. Actually, most contributions come in online nowadays. I shouldn't say they come in via check. Most of them come in online. There's a couple online systems that you can use. Most candidates use ActBlue. If you're a Republican, you can use WinRed. There's PayPal, there's NGP Van, there's a lot of different ones that you can use. They all come with a fee. When you report contributions that are made online, there's normally a fee. What you will report to us is the gross amount, and then the fee you will report as an expense. So the net amount is what goes into your campaign bank account. Okay? So this is a definition in our law of what a campaign contribution is. It's anything of value, includes a gift, subscription. Basically, it's any money people give you to influence your election. This is a fancy definition. Okay? This year, payment of services rendered to you. So if somebody says, hey, you know what? I want to help you out. I'm going to pay for this for you. Okay? Or a person says, I want to help you out. I'm going to give you a discount. Those are all in-kind contributions. So on the discount situation, let's say something normally costs $100. They're going to only charge you $50. So the first $50 will be an expense. The second $50 will be an in-kind contribution to you. Okay? Okay, this is non-monetary contribution. I don't know, people still think non-monetary contributions? They used to do a lot here on Maui. They get? Okay. So just find whatever the value is. They can give you the actual value or whatever their prevailing market.
Like 100 lau-laus.
Whatever the value is. Yeah. Okay. So they still do non-monetary? Okay, good. I like to hear that because that tells me that people are still campaigning on the grassroots level instead of just getting big money. Yeah? Okay, so I already talked about non-monetary contributions.
What about labor? Is there a federal rate for the in-kind labor?
For labor, a lot of labor can be considered voluntary services. Yeah, if it's bona fide voluntary services, that's not a contribution. Okay, but if you have a professional media designer and they would normally charge, in that case, then that could be considered an in-kind contribution. Okay?
Tony, does the in-kind still have to stay under your contribution limit?
That's correct.
So how about if someone wanted to do your website and it's a $10,000 website? How do you?
I'm gonna get to that. That's a really good. That's a
Okay.
really good question.
Okay.
Okay, so her question. We're on slide 30. Non-monetary contributions are aggregated with monetary contributions. Okay, so wanted to emphasize that. Okay, so to your question, contributions do not include volunteer services. You're gonna get a lot of volunteer kokua for your campaigns. It's not a contribution. Also, unpaid internet activities for the purpose of influencing the election. So if you have somebody that wants to help you with your website, social media, blogging, anything to do with the internet, their services is not a contribution. Okay? We follow federal law in that regard here. Okay? Yeah. Unpaid internet activities is not a contribution. Okay, as a candidate, we see a lot of candidates put money, their own money into a campaign. I just talked to somebody last week, Friday, they dropped $75,000 into their own campaign. This is a Senate race in Honolulu, okay? We had one candidate run for governor last year, dropped $2.4 million of their own money. There's two ways that you can treat that. Okay, you can either treat that as an other receipt, okay, which you're basically saying, I don't want to be reimbursed. I have a lot of money. Or you can treat it as a loan. I'm going to talk about loans a little later. Okay? So candidates' own funds is not a contribution. It's either an other receipt or a loan. Do I see loans here on Maui? I see too many loans on Maui. Are you? I do? Yeah? Okay. Okay. Yeah. But this year, all 3 of your senators are up, yeah? All 6 of your state reps are up, 9 Maui County Council races, and then our OHA, Molokai, yeah? Okay. Okay, this is your blueprint here, slide 32. This is how you handle campaign contributions. Like I said, it's very important for you to appoint a very good treasurer. And you can serve as your own treasurer if you're a candidate. You can appoint up to 5 deputy treasurers for your campaign. If you're the candidate and you're handling money, then you want to put yourself down. If you're not the treasurer, you want to put yourself down as a deputy treasurer. Okay. A monetary contribution must be deposited within 7 days of receipt. Okay. If your money is being sent to a PO box, make sure you check that frequently. If you're accepting contributions online, a lot of these online systems, they do not automatically send the money to your campaign bank account. So you want to make sure you're checking that, because you have to manually go in and send that to your account within 7 days. Okay? I think you can set it up that way, but a lot of them don't. You have to actually go in there and send it to your bank account. Okay? Okay, no commingling of campaign funds with any other funds. Do not take your campaign checks and put that into your personal account. Do not connect your personal account to your PayPal account or whatever online system you're using. Send the money into your campaign account. This is the account that you list on your organizational report. Okay? You cannot spend cash contributions without first depositing that. We had a candidate on the Big Island many years ago was taking in cash contributions. I was just going and spending the money. Okay, put the money in the bank. It allows, allows you to track it. And then this here is a new law. The last point, I'm on slide 32. Cash contributions are limited to no more than $100. That's during the entire campaign. Okay. I don't know too many campaigns that get cash contributions anymore, but if you do, $100. That's it. Okay. Okay, so you got to keep a record of all your contributions. Okay? I didn't mention our treasurer's guidebook, but we have a treasurer's guidebook. We kind of frown on the shoebox method. A lot of campaigns like to use the shoebox method, get the receipts, put it in the shoebox. Take a look at our treasurer's guidebook. We have a very well-organized way of keeping your books. Okay? As far as reporting, contributions, all contributions get reported, but only contributions that aggregate more than $100, only those get itemized on Schedule A. Okay, that's important because some people don't want their name showing up on your campaign spending report. So what do you tell them? Give me $100. I still have to report it, but your name will not show up. Okay, so what they do is they give to you, they give to your opponent, they don't tell you that, but their name does not show up for the public to see. Okay, if you are participating in public funding, the state will match small contributions of 100 or less. So in that case, those contributions get itemized and they're disclosed to the state. Okay, I'll talk a little bit more about public funding later. Okay, so this is what Schedule A contributions look like. It'll have the name of the contributor, the address, the date, and the amount. And you can see this for yourself. You can see this for your opponent. Okay, if the contribution is $1,000 or more, you also gotta get the employer and occupation. If they're retired, just put retired. If they're a housemaker, put housemaker. Whatever it is, employer and occupation is required. Okay, if you don't have the information, then the contribution has to be returned within 30 days. Okay, any questions on contributions? Okay, so slide number 35. I'm gonna talk about 4 validation features that we have in the system. So on your slides there, put validation number 1 here. So we have some features in the system that help you to comply with the campaign spending law. This is one of them. If you get a contribution from, in this case, Johnny Aloha, it's $1,000. At the time you made the entry, you don't have Johnny's employer and occupation. You can put it in, run this validation later. The system will tell you that you're missing Johnny's employer and occupation. Okay, I deal with treasurers all the time, where they get checks from the candidate, they have no idea who the person is. Not that there's a candidate in many cases, but for the treasurer it's very difficult because they have to put this in, they have to comply with this reporting requirement. They go back to the candidate. So what I'm suggesting is the candidate, if they can get that information, to pass that on to make the treasurer's life a lot easier. Okay? Okay, so what is the contribution limits? It depends on what office you're running for. So if you're running for House, you're running for Maui County Council, it's $2,000 per person for the election period. If you're running for Senate, it's $4,000. And since all the Senate districts ran in 2022, the election period is normally a 4-year period, but because they all ran in 2022, it's a 2-year period. So for House, Maui County Council, and for Senate, it's a 2-year period from November 2022 to November 2024. So during that period, $2,000 or $4,000. For OHA, the contribution limit is $6,000 per person in the election period. Okay? And that's governor, includes the lieutenant governor and lieutenant governor. Why? Because OHA candidates run statewide.
Okay, so on the aggregate limit of $1,000, you put in a entry, and the person gives you $500 before the price. Gives you another $500 before the general. At that time, you'll be prompted to put in the occupation.
Yes, correct. Okay, so our system keeps track of aggregates, and once it hits 1,000, you run the validation. The system will prompt you. Yes, so it's good to run the validation occasionally. That's one. Validation number 1. This is validation number 2. I'm on slide 37. This will track any contributions you receive over the limit, 2,000, 4,000, or 6,000. There's a way for you to handle excess contribution. I will talk about that. Okay. Okay, what does this mean? We refer to this as the finance maintain or control statute. So let's say I own a business. I give you $4,000 from my business. Let me reverse that. Personally, I give you $4,000. Okay? If I give you $4,000 from my business, that under this statute here, the law treats that as one entity because I control my personal contribution and I'm controlling my business contribution. So you want to watch for that. Whenever you get business contributions, make sure the officers in that business didn't always give because it would be aggregated. Okay? So since I gave you 4 and 4, I've now given you 8. I've made a $4,000 excess contribution to your campaign. Okay, so just be aware of that. I will tell you, when I look at campaigns nowadays, most contributions that come in are from individuals. Over 90% come from individuals. Why? A couple reasons. Number one, a lot of times the businesses are government contractors. I'll talk about that. Government contractors cannot contribute to campaigns. And number two, they do not want to register as a candidate committee with us. They don't want to be paid for. Okay? And we will chase them. Okay? That's this law right here. If a business, organization, gives you more than $500, they have to register. Terrence will chase them. They have to register. They have to file campaign spending reports with us as a non-candidate committee. If you don't let them know, they'll get a letter from us and be very upset at you for not telling them that. So be aware of this. The law used to be more than 1,000, but just recently it was changed to more than 500. Okay. Okay, when you have a fundraiser, we've been seeing a lot of fundraisers now that session is over. Prior to the fundraiser, you have to file what's called a notice of intent to hold a fundraiser. This is a form that you can get online. Actually, I have it here as well. Anyway, I have a screenshot of it. Okay. This form has to be filed prior to the fundraiser. Regardless of the price, that's a new law. The form used to only be required for fundraisers where the ticket price was more than $25. The law was changed last year. It's now any price. So if you have a function and the intention or design of the function is to collect money, even if you don't have a price, it could be a coffee hour that you're showing up to. You have to file this fundraiser form. Okay? The form most of the time will come in via e-sign. We put it on our website. It can be e-signed and submitted through our system. Okay, so I'm on slide 40. This is a law that went into effect last year. Candidates cannot, elected officials cannot have fundraisers during session. Okay. The definition of elected official is very broad. It not only includes Senate and House candidates, it includes all elected officials. So even mayor, prosecutor, county councils, OHOG, governor, lieutenant governor, during session, the prohibition also applies to all of those candidates. They cannot have fundraisers. So during that time, it's great. No fundraiser notices are coming in. But right after session, they start coming in, before and after. Okay? This is the form here. It requires the name of the person in charge, the date of the fundraiser, the time of the fundraiser, and the place of the fundraiser. We take that form, we scan it, and we post it on our website, and then he will send out an X post for it, just for transparency reasons. Okay, we do joint fundraisers. Okay, joint fundraisers are allowed, okay, but as far as the contributors, it is required that they make the contributions directly to the candidates that are participating in the joint fundraiser. They cannot just give it to one candidate and the candidate divvy up the money, okay, so it has to be made. As far as the expense side, we do allow one person to pay the expense for convenience in working with the vendor, but the other candidates participating are required to reimburse that candidate, and we do check for that. Okay, why? Because a candidate cannot use their campaign funds to support the campaigns of other campaigns. So it has to be prorated equally amongst the participating candidates. The only case where campaign funds can be used in a co-candidate situation is candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor. So in the general, the governor candidate can use money to support the LG, and LG can use. Okay? And that does happen. Okay, fundraising in a government facility is prohibited. That would be here, county building, state capitol. You cannot fundraise, you cannot solicit contributions unless the government facility allows it. There's a fee, and you make a reservation to do that. Okay, I don't know, do campaigns still have fundraisers in cafeterias? You guys still see that on Maui? You do? Okay.
Can't make that.
No, you can.
Oh.
If the facility allows it, you can. Yeah. I think Justin would have fundraisers at the cafeteria.
Or even the county park, right, under the pavilions.
If it's allowed, yeah.
You have to apply for the permit for it, so if they allow the permit, then it's okay, but if not.
Then we have a specific consequence for that in our law. That's a misdemeanor. I think this law is really to prevent, like at the state legislature, from the county buildings. Yeah, but just keep that in mind. Okay, so I talked about what's allowed. Why don't we go into, I'm gonna finish this and then we'll take a break. I know it's a lot of information.
Jenny, one more question, how many days prior do we have to have the form in to have a fundraiser?
Anytime, that's a good question. Anytime prior to the fundraiser. So let's say you have your fundraiser today at 6:30. We close at 4:30, and it needs to be filed by 4:30.
So as long as you get it before I hold it.
Before 4:30
Yeah.
on the day of the fundraiser.
Okay,
Okay?
thanks.
That's okay. Okay. Prohibited contributions. Any questions on that? Please, if you have questions, ask them. I'm going to try and keep things moving, keep the pace the same, but it just makes things more interesting. if you ask me questions. Go ahead.
So suppose somebody donates $2,002 for whatever reason because they thought it was either cute or funny or something. I don't know why they did this, but and their limit's 2,000. What's
I'm going to talk about that right now.
All right.
That's a good question. Very timely. Okay, so how do you handle an excess contribution? If you receive a contribution and it's in excess of the limit and you have not deposited that contribution, you can return it. No harm, no foul. You're not required to report it. Okay, 7 days. Okay? If you deposit the excess contribution, in this case the $2, you have 30 days to return it. Our law is very nice. We give you time to return it. Okay, you return it within 30 days, and we see that return on the same campaign spending report as the excess is reported. That's it.
Return the excess or the whole amount?
Just the excess. So you just return the $2. Okay? If 30 days passes and you don't return the $2, the money escheats to the Hawaii Election Campaign Fund. It's a fancy word for transfer. Okay, what is the Hawaii Election Campaign Fund? You see on your state tax forms, it asks you if you want to donate $3 to the Hawaii Election Campaign Fund. It's a fund that's used for public funding. That's it, public funding. Okay, the excess, the $2 will go to the fund. If you don't inform us or notify us of the excess, we will also fine the contributor. Okay, so you need to let us know when you get an excess. We will notate it and no fine on the contributor. Okay? Any questions on handling excess? Okay, I already showed you validation number 2 on how to track excess contributions. I suggest you use that. Okay, non-resident contributions. You guys remember the former governor, Linda Lingle? That's this law here. This law was put into place to cap out-of-state contributions to 30% of your total contribution amount. Okay, so if your total contribution amount is $10,000, non-resident cannot exceed $3,000. Immediate family members are exempt from this, so if you have immediate family members on the continent, that would be probably not your spouse, your parent, your grandparent, your children, your brother or sister, and their spouses. It's the definition here. That does not apply for the 30%. Okay? Legislature passed this year. That wasn't there until just recently. If you do exceed, so let's say you're over 30% right now, because it's 30% in the election period, the election period ends November 5th, 2024. There's no violation now. You could be at 100% right now from out of state. There's no violation. As of November 5th or November 6th, if you're over 30%, you handle that by returning the excess within 30 days of November 5th. Okay? So this is validation number 3. It allows you to track non-resident contributions. When you enter your contributions in the system, you put the date, the name, the address, the amount. On that screen, you will see a non-resident checkbox. Okay? So what do we mean by who's a resident? Who's a resident? Okay? A resident would be somebody that's registered to vote, but they're not always registered to vote. Okay? This might be a little more intrusive. Somebody that files a resident tax form, or somebody whose primary domicile, fancy word, primary home, is in the state of Hawaii. So if they leave, their primary intention is to come back and make Hawaii their home. That's a resident. Okay? For businesses, a resident business would be a business that's registered with DCCA. If you get it, you check, they're registered. You don't have to mark that. Okay?
So, to qualify as a resident, they have to be registered to vote.
That's one way. That's one way. They're not always registered to vote. That's one way. That's the easiest way.
Or pay taxes here.
Pay taxes and pay as a resident and file the resident form.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, resident form. That's kind of intrusive. Like, hey, what, you file the resident form or the non-resident form? You figure it out. You guys are all smart people. Figure it out. Okay. Okay, so run this. Keep running this. It doesn't matter, like I said, until November 5th.
You said this was validation number 3. What was validation number 2?
Validation number 2 was excess contribution. Okay. Validation 1 was employer and occupation. Okay. False name contributions. We had this come up recently in the federal case. A person cannot make a contribution in the name of another person. So how does this happen? Say, hey, Tony, can you make a contribution to candidate A? Here's some money. Go make that contribution. Oh, hey, Tony, just use your own money. I will reimburse you. Or in the federal case, what happened was a person went and got a cashier's check with their cash and just used a relative's name and gave that name to the candidate, and that's what the candidate reported. So took the cash, got the cashier's check. So how do you know if it's a false name contribution? It's almost impossible. Almost impossible. Yeah.
Sorry, back on slide number 44, you have number 7, it's prohibited lobbyist contributions. What's the definition of a lobbyist?
Oh, I'm gonna get to that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I'll get to that.
Actually, I'm still stuck on primary domicile. The definition of that. You said in the state of Hawaii, filing the taxes, registered or not, but primary domicile, is there something in the Hawaii like statutes that says what that's defined by county, by island?
I think that would be more elections law.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think what they say is if somebody leaves the state, it's their intention of coming back. Yeah, this is their home. I think that's how they define it.
And if they have put an out-of-state address in the online contribution, is there a way to change it? Because I had people do that, and I was like, no, don't put your Montana address, like, because they do live here.
Yeah.
So so how do I?
I think if they're making an online contribution,
Yeah.
I think that's them, right? Entering you gotta
Yeah.
work with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can just call them and say, hey, can you put your address here?
Yeah, you gotta,
Because I know they really live here.
yeah, you can work with them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for us, as far as the regulators, we cannot just look at a person's address and say that's non-resident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it really comes down to you. There's a checkbox, like I said. You mark it, non-resident. So you're affirming that they're non-resident. Okay? That's what
This is kind of a question maybe to help her. But if let's say they give the Montana address, but they own a home and they have like a homeowner's exemption, which is required by Mountain County law to have be 6 months living here as a resident, would that qualify?
I'm glad you brought that up. You can also use that homeowner's exemption
And
residency.
their
Yes.
children go to school here, I mean,
Yeah.
you would think that, yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the homeowner's
That's-
exemption.
yeah,
'Cause that's another criteria
good
we
one,
use.
too.
Yeah. Thanks. I forgot about that. Yes.
Say my daughter lives in Oregon. She works in Oregon, but she intends on coming back to Hawaii to live.
Is she a resident of Oregon or a resident of Hawaii?
It's nasty.
Does she work?
She works in Oregon. She filed Oregon state taxes, but her intent is to go back to live here.
Does she have a driver's license in Oregon? Then we would probably consider that an Oregon resident. That would be
Have a driver's license there, and
file taxes there.
they file taxes there because they work there, but they're right? Wasn't that part of it? The intention to return.
I think the former of them being employed in Oregon and filing taxes in Oregon, that would trump that. We would look at that as a non-resident. Okay? Okay, so be aware of false name contributions. But like I said, how do you handle false name contributions? I mean, you can have an acknowledgement. You know, your contributor cards are on your website. You certified or something that this money is your own money. You're not a government contractor. There's campaigns that have that on their website. It's really good. Yeah. So when they make the contribution, you're making them aware of that. Okay. Okay. So anonymous contributions are also prohibited. How do you get anonymous contributions? Somebody mails you cash. I don't know why they would do that, because that's a bad example. They give you cash. They wouldn't mail it because that would be mail fraud, right? They give you cash. Any anonymous contributions are prohibited. If you cannot identify the contributor, it is cheats to the Hawaii Election Campaign Fund. Okay? There is an exception, and that's if you have a function, you put out a koabo, at least 10 people put money in the koabo, it has to be less than $100. You can accept money, anonymous contributions. So you want to have somebody monitoring the koabo. Make sure at least 10 people put money in the koabo, and it's less than 100. Okay? I don't know why this is in the law. You can have a koabo at every function. One person can give you $90. Nine people will give you $1.
You have more than one contribution goal.
One person? You can, I guess you can, but it cannot exceed 100. One per function. One per function, though. Okay. I already mentioned this, but it's worth mentioning again, and that's cash contributions capped at 100. Okay? State or county contractors are prohibited from giving. It doesn't apply to all contracts. It applies to someone that's buying property from the state, any kind of property. Okay? Number one. Number two, somebody that's selling a land or a building to the state. Number three, furnishing materials, supplies, or equipment. Or this one here, personal services contracts. That's where the prohibition is expanded. Health, law, engineering contractors, architectural contractors, construction, accounting, actuarial science, whatever that is. I think budget people work with that term, right? Performing arts and consulting. Okay? If the funds are appropriated by a legislative body and these people receive this kind of contract, they're not allowed to make contributions to you. You've been seeing this a lot in the media. In fact, when you hear the word pay to play, they're referring to this here. Okay? The prohibition only applies to the contracting entity. However, the officers, the employees, and the shareholders of the contracting entity, they can still make contributions. So you hear the word pay to play, that's what they're referring to.
Is a grant considered contract?
It does not. We've been trying to change the law. You talking about the GIAs?
HGA or
A grant?
they call it a contract.
I would have to check on that. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Subcontractors, if they don't have their own contracts, are also allowed to give.
And where do unions fit into that?
Unions would be, they wouldn't fall into this. They would just be non-candidate committees, where the money comes from either payroll deduction, it comes from the treasury, that wouldn't be there.
So unions don't have the contracts.
You have to have
I
contracts,
don't know. That's
but, yeah.
okay.
I just wanted to ask, so remember you said, and I'm sorry, I just taken it a little slow. So you said that candidates will file till the 10th or the 11th because they don't want the competition seeing the report.
Yeah.
Where would we see that? Where is that located? The report.
Oh, good question.
Did I pass you or
No,
I
no.
went too fast?
I'll give you guys a website. I'll be specific here. If you go to CSC dot Hawaii .gov / capital C, capital F, capital S, then the word public with a capital P. I'm taking you straight to our candidate filing system public site. If we had internet access here, I can kind of show you guys because it's very informative.
You're gonna spend hours there. So I see home and view reports.
Click on view reports. Okay, there's gonna be a search.
Okay.
There'll be a
Okay.
there'll be a search field up at the top. You can search the first name, last name. It'll bring up the candidate's name.
And Tony, does that only give you the certain filing periods? Is there any way to see like a whole year at a time?
Yes.
Okay, because I've never been able to figure that out. I
If you go
go
to
in and look at every period.
If you go to hawaii.gov /campaign, you click on candidate committee, you click on browse data, and you go to searchable data.
Okay.
It allows you to look at data file that we pull it from the campaign spending reports and we put it in a searchable database for you.
Okay.
Okay? It's an easier way because when the website that I gave you guys, you gotta look at the information by reporting period. The searchable database, it pulls all that information and you can download it into an Excel file. Once you get it into Excel, man, you guys are all techies here, you know what to do with that.
Good to know.
Okay, let's move on because I want to respect your time here today. Foreign nationals, foreign corporations. We've been seeing a lot of money coming in. But foreign national, foreign corporation is prohibited from making contributions to a candidate unless the foreign national has a green card. Okay? If the foreign national, if a foreign national owns a domestic corporation, the domestic corporation can give as long as the foreign national with the green card is making the decisions, or somebody that's a resident of a citizen of the U.S. is making the decision, and the money is domestically derived. Okay, this is here. Foreign national individuals do not participate in decisions made concerning contributions, and the contributions are domestically derived. That's an exception in the campaign spending law. Otherwise, they're prohibited. Okay.
Even
Okay.
if they're a resident.
If they're a U.S. citizen and they're making the decisions on the contributions and the money's domestically derived here in the U.S. Okay. Who asked me the lobbyists?
I would need.
That was you. Okay. This is a new law. Went into effect June 23rd. I'm on slide 54. June 23rd, 2023. Lobbyists are prohibited from making contributions during the regular session as well as the special session of the legislature, including 5 days before the session and 5 days after. Okay. How do you know who's a lobbyist? Okay. They can be registered. They can be a registered lobbyist not only with the state ethics commission. They can also be a registered lobbyist with the county ethics commission. If they're an active registered lobbyist, they are prohibited from making contributions. And not only to elected officials, but even candidates that are not elected officials. This prohibition is pretty broad. It shuts them down for a whole 3-4 month period. Okay? So, how do you know? Like I said, the Hawaii State Ethics Commission has a list of about 500 lobbyists. The best way is just to ask them. Just ask them. The lobbyists, yes. Okay. Can't give. We've already passed that period. I think session ended on May 3rd. 5 days after that was May 8th. So they can give. Okay. As far as your disclosure report, these are the schedules that are connected to your disclosure report. This is to report money coming into your campaign. Okay, number 1, contributions. Number 2, other receipts. And number 3, loans. Okay, so when you are campaigning, you're getting contributions, my recommendation is as you receive contributions, as you make loans, go into the system and put them in. Don't wait until the end of the reporting period, because in some cases, you only have 5 days to file the report. Okay, it's just a lot less stress if you're putting it in as it happens. Okay, let's take a break here. Can we do a quick 5-minute break here? And we can move on. Okay. There's 4 types of loans that a campaign can receive. Loans by the candidate, loans by a bank in the ordinary course of business, loans by your immediate family members, and loans by other persons. Okay? What I didn't mention to you when I talked about contribution limits of $2,000, $4,000, or $6,000, immediate family members can contribute up to $50,000 to your campaign. Okay? If one immediate family member gives you $50,000, no other immediate family members can give you. So it's an aggregate. Okay? I already, one of the slides defined what immediate family member is. Okay? But if they want to give you it as a contribution, they can. They can also give it to you as a loan. Okay? Other persons would be other persons. Anybody outside of your immediate family member. You have a friend that has a lot of money, they can give you $10,000 in loans. If that one person gives you a loan, no other people can give you loans. Okay, you can break it up. One person can give you 5, another can give you 5. It's an aggregate of $10,000. Okay, as far as repayment requirement, this is the only type of loan that has a repayment requirement of 1 year. Okay? If that 1 year passes, whatever surplus funds you have, whatever future contributions you receive, will have to go towards repaying that loan. Okay? We've had some people on Maui that loaned the campaign money, didn't get their money back, made a big issue out of it. We had to do a contested case hearing for that. Campaign ended up paying back the loan, but just keep in mind, if you take a loan and you don't win, you get stuck with a debt, a liability. Sometimes it's difficult for you to pay back that debt. Just keep that in mind. Okay? I do not see any bank loans on campaign spending reports. If you gotta take out a bank loan, you may want to think twice about running. Sure. Okay. Mortgage the house. Honey, I feel good, man. I can win this. You know that talk? Okay, so this is validation number 4. It validates only the other person category. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Okay, regardless of where the loan originates, all loans in excess of $100, you're required to file what's called a loan document. Okay? This is, I've talked about 2 forms so far, the electronic filing form and the fundraiser notice. This is the 3rd form I'm talking about. When you're in the system and you're entering the loan, you will see there will be a prompt there. You click on it, it'll take you right to the form. This form. Okay? Form number 3, executed loan document. It has the lender's name, address, date of the loan, the amount, as well as the interest rate and the repayment schedule. Yes, somebody can charge your campaign interest. Do I see it? No. But the law allows it. Okay? As far as the repayment schedule, that will only apply really if you have a bank loan, the terms and conditions of the loan, or the other person loan, the 1 year, yeah? As a candidate loan, you can just say when funds become available. I have campaigns that have loans from 10, 20 years ago still on the books.
And that's what I was going to ask you. There's no need to back that out, or I mean, I can just leave that
You can
on forever.
You can leave it on there forever.
Right?
Yeah.
Until I decide to forgive it myself. Or,
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Good point. You can keep it on there as a loan. My suggestion is as you spend money, and it's your own money, put it down as a loan.
Mm-hmm.
If you have contributions, you can always recoup that. If not, you can just forgive the loan. Forgive the loan. Take the loss. Okay? And there's a way for you to do that in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the loan document is due on by the date of the deadline that the loan is reported in by 4:30. This is just all, take a look at that. Yeah, this is an exception to loans. A lot of words on this screen here. But a lot of times you have people helping out your campaign and they're spending their own money. Because you're not going to give everybody a debit card. Yeah? Or be careful with debit cards. Okay? Sometimes the candidate can get a little loose with a debit card. We always say be careful with debit cards. What this is you have people out in the field. I gotta say that. Be careful with debit cards, man. Candidate will go to Starbucks. You gotta pump your brakes, candidate. This year, if somebody advances money for you, they're helping you out in the campaign, a volunteer, spending money. If you plan to repay them within 45 days, and the total aggregate amount is $1,500, or it's a small amount, you don't have to report that as a loan. You just report it as an expense on where that person spent the money. So this is an exception to loans. Okay? If you guys have any questions on this, you can call us up.
We'll call you.
Okay, so I talked about contributions. I talked about loan, this money that comes in. This is how you spend your money, expenditures, okay? Expenditure is basically you spending your money to influence your election, to help you get elected. Okay, so for every expense that you make for the campaign, you got to get the name, the address of the vendor, the date, the amount, self-explanatory, right? You got to have some kind of receipt that you keep in your records or documentation you keep in your records. If you're using a credit card, we do a lot of that, okay? What we don't want to see in your campaign spending report is Visa, $5,000. We used to see that. We used to see that. Like, you need to break down what you're spending the money on. Get the name of the vendor, the date, the amount, and itemize that on your campaign spending report. I don't know if you guys using advertising agencies or consultants. Sometimes you guys give them money, they'll take the money and then do your media buys for you. You need to break that all out. Okay, so this is campaign spending law is a disclosure law. Okay, transparency. So we need to get the detail. Candidate reimbursements, what we don't want to see is on the campaign spending report, candidate A reimbursed $1,000, the detail. Okay, I think you guys get the idea, okay? Okay, this is what you can use your money on. Slide 66, mark this slide. Directly related expenses to your campaign. Most, if not all of your campaign expenses should be in that category right now. Okay, I will get into a little bit more detail on what I mean by directly related. You can also use your campaign funds for mixed benefit. You know, you can purchase or lease a vehicle. You can purchase or lease equipment, a computer. I see a lot of purchases of computers, cell phones, printers. Yeah, those are all allowed. You can make donations to charity. You can make donations to public schools or public libraries. You can award scholarships to individuals attending an institution of higher knowledge or college or a vocational school. That is allowed. You can make a donation to your party. You can purchase 2 fundraiser tickets to another candidate's fundraiser. That's the only time that you can use your campaign funds to help another candidate. So if you see another candidate with money, send them tickets. They can buy. I showed you how to look at campaign spending reports, right? They can use campaign funds to buy 2 tickets to every one of your fundraisers. What I didn't teach you yet is how to look at non-candidate committee reports. Okay, these are the people that hold the money. Okay, if you learn how to look at non-candidate committee reports, you can see who's sitting on surpluses. Okay, you can get the names and addresses of non-candidate committees. That's a source of funding for you. Okay, the last one, you can make a contribution to your party. They will really appreciate that. I see that once in a while. And then number 8 is ordinary and necessary expenses. These are for candidates that are in office and they want to make expenses that predominantly and are directly related to their duties as an office holder. Okay, so when you're in the state legislature, you have a legislative allowance. Using money under ordinary and necessary expenses allows you to use to do many things. Okay, just keep that in mind. Okay, so this is examples of directly related. These are your typical campaign-related expenses. Headquarters. I only see headquarters for governor and mayor campaigns, but if you want to spend your money on headquarters, you can do that. Banners and signs, television, radio, internet, mailers, walking pieces, all your typical campaign expenses directly related. You can also use campaign funds for legal expenses that are directly related to your campaign. That happens quite a bit, actually.
Can you have your headquarters at your home?
We do have some information. I can get you some information on that. The answer is yes. Very similar to IRS, having your business in your home. You know, have a portion of your home. We have information on that. For those candidates running Maui County Council or OHA, you can use your money to travel. Okay? Across the state, Kanu District, go to Lanai, go to Molokai.
So like today's event,
That's a campaign-related expense. Yeah, mark it down. You heard that from Tony. And you can have a mahalo party as long as it's reasonable. We've had some campaigns that wanted to have elaborate mahalo parties, so we have to tone it down. At very fancy hotels, such as the Wailea. True story. Durable assets, like I said, you can buy a computer, cell phone, camera, printer. What is a durable asset? Why do we even mention a durable asset? Because in addition to having to report it as an expense, we track durable assets. So when you close your campaign, you can't just walk off with your computer, your cell phone. I had a campaign on the Big Island by a bouncy house. They said they needed a bouncy house. I've been seeing drones too. Drones, yeah.
So these expenses, are they the expenses as of the date that I filed?
Not necessarily. It can be expenses that occurred prior to that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so keep that in mind. These are all allowed. You can use campaign funds for gifts up to these amounts. Sometimes your sign waivers really appreciate the little gift card. It's not $500 aggregate per volunteer. It's $500 or $1,000 or $1,500. So we do allow gifts. The best thing to do for a volunteer is not give them a gift, but to feed them, right? You feed your campaign volunteers. Okay, mixed benefit. Like I said, I told you you can purchase a vehicle. I don't see that on campaign spending reports, but you can take mileage. Okay, up to 67 cents per mile. That is allowed. Okay, that's the mileage rate for 2024. Just keep track of your campaign driving, point A to point B, in case we ever ask. Just like IRS, yeah? Okay? I talked about charitable donations that is allowed, and campaigns do take advantage of this. So whatever your contribution limit is, if it's $2,000, $4,000, $6,000, your donation limit is 2 times that amount. Okay? So if your contribution limit is $4,000, you can donate up to $8,000. Once you file nomination papers, you can no longer donate. Okay? Once you file, you can no longer donate until you either win outright or lose in the primary, or you win or lose in the general. Okay, so we're kind of in a, if you already filed, you're in a prohibited period right now. Just keep that in mind. Okay, scholarships. You can do scholarships. And, I call this the Donna Kim law. That law was passed by the fastest campaign spending law ever passed. Scholarships are allowed up to 2 times the amount of your contribution limit. Okay, so 4,000, 8,000, or 12,000. We are not in that prohibited period yet. You know, I think Lahaina Luna graduated last week. Next week, Wednesday, is when we go into that prohibited period of doing scholarships. Okay, the day after the nomination paper filing deadline, all the way to the primary, if you win outright or lose, or to the general. You can do scholarships. Okay? Any questions on this?
You know, I'm sorry. I am kind of confused on this. I mean, I don't want to hold everybody up if it's clear for everybody, but like I want to donate to the Boy Scouts for their golf tournament, so I need to do it before I file my papers. Is that what you're saying?
If they're treating it as a donation, they said.
Oh, I'm just sponsoring their golf outing. So is that different?
Depends how they word it. Is the sponsorship, is that a donation? Sometimes they would treat it as a donation.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And the answer is we cannot.
So I need to look at it closely or do it today.
If you didn't file nomination papers, you can do it today. Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
That's a good question.
That's helpful.
If you guys are getting solicitations for events that are happening down the road, even if it happens after you file nomination papers, if you make the donation now, it's allowed.
Yeah, because all the things that go on, the activities, they ask me to sponsor or donate.
Okay.
For AgFest, for all the things that are coming up.
There's a lot of things that go on Maui.
There are. So
we had to deal with that in the past a lot. Your mayor here.
All right, that's good to know.
So I write the check today,
Yes.
to Hawaiian Civic Club of Honolulu for the hula hoop ball scholarship. And they don't, the ball isn't until November.
That's all. Yeah.
That's,
Yeah. You never filed nomination papers yet?
I did.
Oh, then no, I cannot. Cannot. Let's say you did it. Say you did it.
So now you're gonna muddy the water. Stop right there. Okay.
Once you file, no can.
Okay.
Let's just keep it at that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Public schools, public libraries. Oh, go ahead.
So if like an organization sells you a table, out of donations, you're buying a table to participate in an event, that's not considered a donation?
It depends how the organization handles the money. A lot of them don't want to pay taxes on the money. So on their tax filing, 990, they will report that as a donation. Okay? If they report it as income, they got to pay taxes on it, right? So if they're treating it as a donation, then you have to treat it as a donation. You got to work with the organization.
So you gotta find out from them.
But when we're looking into a candidate from Maui, we found that a lot of them will report it as a donation on their 990. Okay? Public schools and public libraries is allowed. There's no prohibited period in this category. Okay? Yeah, ordinary and necessary. This is after you all win. You can use money. This is some examples. You can take a look at slide 74 after you leave. We allow ordinary and necessary legislative opening day expenses. You can organize community meetings, but probably the biggest area used is travel. Travel for conferences and workshops. We see a lot of that. Okay? This is after you win. Campaign funds shall not be used for personal expenses. So what is a personal expense? It's an expense that would have existed irrespective of you being a candidate. You gotta eat. You gotta wear clothes. We get campaigns that ask us all the time, can I buy an Aloha shirt? Can I buy campaign shoes? Because I gotta walk the district. No, you gotta buy your own shoes. Yeah. However, as far as clothing, we do allow t-shirts that have your campaign on it. Hats, any campaign swag is allowed. But not the Manuhea Li'i shirt, dress.
But what about
whatever.
lay for all the events?
We allow that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's this is the irrespective rule here that we just talked about. Irrespective. Okay? You gotta eat. We used to have campaigns that used to do, they thought they were Santa Claus, Christmas gifts, birthdays. They use their campaign funds as slush funds. Yeah, the family just allows them. They don't know that they're using campaign funds. Okay? Just take a look at this. These are more prohibited. We used to have a candidate that went salmon fishing in Alaska. I've been with the commission long enough. I've seen everything. Okay, just try to keep it campaign related. Haircuts, movie theater tickets. Yeah. Okay, so money in, contributions, loans, other receipts. This is money out. Expenditures. So for you accountants, expenditures made here, expenditures incurred on Schedule E. Okay, you have to report it when the expense is incurred. Even if you didn't pay it. E. Okay, I talked about durable assets. You would report it as an expense. You went to Best Buy on a computer here, and then you would also enter it on as a durable asset. Okay, take a look at the durable assets. There's some interesting things in there. Okay, any questions on expenses? Everybody's going to do directly related expenses, okay? No. Okay, advertising. We're doing good. 11 to 10. If you run an ad, you need to have a disclaimer on all your ads, paid for by friends of, with the address. Okay? That would be your mailers, your walking pieces, your website, and and all your digital ads, if you're doing a Facebook boost, do they still do that? You still do that? If you're paying for your Facebook boost, you gotta have the disclaimer on the ad that you're boosting. Okay? So whenever you're paying for the ad, if you're just posting something on Facebook, there's no payment for that post, no need the disclaimer. Okay? We have a fine for that. You also have to have the disclaimer on all your signs and banners. Sometimes candidates forget that. We don't require a font size, just have it on there. If you forgot, you can print stickers and stick it on there, okay? Okay, this is if you run as a team. Let's say you're running as a team of 4. You run an ad, and the ad says, vote for all of us. You got to have the disclaimer of all 4 candidates on that ad. Okay, but if you run an endorsement ad and it just says vote for you, that's allowed. You just would have paid for by the name of your campaign committee. So just keep that in mind when running ads. We still do endorsement ads. Those are very helpful, yeah? Okay, I want to talk about independent expenditure. You guys heard of super PACs? Super PACs are very active on the island of Maui, and I expect them to be active again on Maui. We have about 20 registered super PACs. These are what we call independent expenditure committees. And what makes them so powerful is that they can accept unlimited money as long as the money they spend is not coordinated with your campaign. We call those independent ads. They cannot talk to you. They cannot use your picture that you post on your website. They cannot use anything of yours. Okay? When they run an ad, it'll say paid for by so-and-so super PAC without the approval and authority of the candidate. There can be no coordination, because if there's coordination, they would not only lose their super PAC status, but the money they spend would be considered an in-kind contribution to your campaign. Right? So keep that in mind. We had a very viable gubernatorial candidate in 2022 that coordinated with the super PAC that her husband ran. We had to find that campaign. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Yeah? Just keep a firewall between you and all super PACs. I don't see too many super PACs in the OHA races, but I do see on Maui County Council, Senate, yeah. Okay, any questions on super PACs, independent expenditures? Okay. Okay, termination. Okay, after your campaign, if you win, great. You have to continue filing campaign spending reports until you run again. A lot of times, candidates that are unsuccessful, they just disappear. Okay, do not disappear until you terminate with our campaign. Terminate with the commission. You file a final report. A request. There's a form. This is form number 4, which is this form right here. Form number 4. This form, send us a closing bank statement, close your campaign. Okay, so if you're raising money, I don't know, and you do not file nomination papers, that's where this will apply. You guys all plan to file nomination papers, so disregard this. But let's say you file nomination papers and you withdraw. There's things that you need to do. You're not going to withdraw, so let's bypass this. If you run and you're unsuccessful, you have to close your campaign within 1 year. What do you do with your money? You can buy fundraiser tickets. You can donate to charity. You can donate it to the party. There's certain things. Just keep in mind you have 1 year. If you win, you just continue filing until you run again. That's all this is. We have specific consequences for statutes that are violated that are reckless, knowing, or intentional. Just be aware of that. You falsify a campaign spending report. This one here is a new one. Be on the lookout for hit pieces. It happens where a ghost pack will send out a hit piece against you, and they'll put a name and address as a disclaimer, a false name and address, so that it's not really the person that paid for that. That's now a Class C felony. Okay, these are ghost packs, or they call them phantom packs. They run these hit pieces. Happened to our speaker, it happened to the mayor. They normally send it out first class mail. It's hard to detect. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Okay, this is just FYI. Like I said, our goal is prevention. So you have our phone number. More consequences. I'm not here to scare you, but page 91, you can take a look at that. Okay. Any questions? Just to recap, I talked about registration, I talked about reporting, contributions, loans, expenditures, advertisements, and terminating.
So if we wanted to open a checking account at Bank of Hawaii, you just get their ID number and what else do we need? Do we need anything?
Every bank is different.
Okay, I'll follow up with the bank.
Some banks will ask for a copy of your organizational report. Okay, so you can print that from inside the system. Some banks will ask for articles of incorporation, minutes of meetings.
So this is public funding is the only thing left?
Yeah, that's it.
So I'm going to take out,
Okay.
but this is really good. Thanks.
Yes. Okay.